Bill Keeler in the morning. Well, if you know anything about WIBX, Bill Keeler, the radio host himself, well, they've been around since 1925. They pump out to New York 5,000 watts. They got the talk show going, and they got a number of other things going. Now, they also have a website, and that's what cued this whole thing today. My good wife was doing a bit of research, and she found an article they published on their website April of 2025, just this month or this last month. And it's of a JW interview on this radio station. I had not seen that. We're going to play the whole thing, and we're going to take a look at that article. So stick with us, and we'll look at the narrative. So when we look at the 2025 video that Joe and Fran, we're going to take a look at this. They were on the show. What it was based on. Well, a year and a half later, just this last month, Bill Keeler published something. So we're going to try to connect some dots here. And let's take a look at what Joe and Fran said, first of all. And then we'll go back and take a look at the JW interview. Then we'll examine what Bill Keeler brought to light. Just hang in there.
When did you join, when did you become Jehovah's Witness?
Okay, 1985.
All right.
We started studying. We had 4 small children.
And what led you to that? And by the way, we could be in a lot of trouble for going in this way with a religion. It's usually not something that's done, going after a religion, but you feel that people should be very nervous because people are being hurt.
Our concern is for the people.
Okay. Why did you become a Jehovah's Witness? Was there something in your life that drove you to the church?
We were born and raised Catholic. We had 4 children. We were interested in the family all together, learning about the Bible, and that wasn't happening at the time in the Catholic faith.
In the Catholic Church.
So we were looking, we're searching, and one day witnesses came to our door and offered a book, and then eventually offered a study, which we were interested in for the family. So that's great, that's what we're interested in, Bible study for the family.
And you went?
And that's what they did. It was a home study, and then we started attending the meetings.
How many children did you?
We have
4 children. And Fran, you went to the church.
Yes, we did. Yes.
And your family, your kids grew up in the church.
Yes.
Talk about that just a little bit.
They're called born in.
Born in.
See, we were not born into that. They were born into it.
Your kids were, because you became.
That's
Fran,
right.
grab the mic from him if you have.
The people are very nice, and that's what attracted us to the organization.
Okay.
The people are very, very nice, loving.
All right. Now, what made you want to leave the church?
We were watching the organization systematically become more corporate.
Okay.
Not like a religion, but like a corporation. I went to school for business. I got a business background. And I said, this is more like a business. And they are absolutely a corporate business. They were becoming more and more corporate, more authoritative, less churchy, if you know what I mean.
So you decided, now how old when you decide to leave the church, how old are your kids?
Okay, so our children were in their early 40s, late 30s.
Oh, okay, so
And
they're now
we-
adults with their own children.
Right, no children.
No children.
No children. But we were 70, so we were old to leave.
And how many years ago was this?
3 years ago.
Okay, so this is very new. So you decide to leave the church, and now this means you have lost your family.
What happens, again, the reason we left is when we found out that Australia, through the Australian Royal Commission, it was a government investigation on pedophilia. There were, at the time...
They found that there were 1,800 victims with 1,000 abusers over the course of maybe 20 years. I'm not sure.
In Australia?
That was just Australia.
Yeah. You believe this is covered up very much like what
Absolutely.
happened in the Catholic Church, but it's been exposed.
Absolutely.
You feel it's going on in this church.
Most people don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses
Right.
because they were very secret.
Very quiet.
Very secret. But
Yeah.
now with the internet, they're not so secret anymore.
Go ahead, Fran.
Oh, I was just looking on we have followers that are following us right now. We told them that we were going to be on the
Okay,
program.
all right.
But they said get closer to the mic.
Get closer to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you thank them for me? All right. Okay.
you.
All right. I have 8 minutes, so let's move. Davey, I want to go right to the top. Do whatever you have to do. Okay. So you try to leave the church. You've now lost your family. I think this is very important. You're in your 70s. You now do not have contact with your children?
Their policy is for anyone who leaves, or either purposely leaves, or if they're what's called disfellowshipped, they basically coerce the members to shun that person.
All right.
That means they're as good as dead.
So you do not have
None.
contact?
Zero. For
Do
3
your
years.
kids now have kids or they don't have kids?
No
All right.
children.
Fran, have the two of you or your husband, ever witnessed, because one of the things you told me is you feel there's pedophilia in the church and it's being covered up.
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed something like this, or you just believe it is happening?
Okay, personally, no, we did not. We asked our children, they said no, but there's something called repressed memory that if it happens to a child, they can just block it out. But
right.
we have talked to many people that have been sexually abused.
And there's a
They
case,
say themselves that
Yes.
they have
and
been.
Yes.
there was a
Yes.
case right in Rome
Yes.
that is documented.
But what happens to that case? Does it go to the authorities?
No, it does not. In the case in Rome, it did, only because the daughter-in-law reported it.
Okay.
Most cases not.
Otherwise, their corporate policy is to go to their lawyers first and then take care of it in-house
Okay.
because they're protecting a corporation.
Have you tried to reach out to your kids to...
Oh, absolutely.
You have. And tell us
Absolutely.
about that.
No contact. Absolutely none. No response.
In the beginning, they were warned by someone that your parents are into something very dangerous. So right away, the shunning, they call it shunning, starts where, no contact. No
You feel you were into
messages.
something dangerous within the church.
Oh, it's-
Leaving the church, you felt that you were escaping.
We had so much evidence, and if you go on YouTube and just look up XJW, you'll see thousands of accounts.
X, which is EX.
EXJW.
JW, do you have any
EXJ.
questions, Tim?
Yeah, so, I guess I am surprised in regards to if this pedophilia is going on, that at some point in time, the lawyers are going to get involved.
they have been. They have
I don't
been.
care how long it's going to be, but if there's money to be made in regards to it, they're going to jump into this thing.
Okay, in the case of Pennsylvania, the Attorney General, Michelle Henry, right now, they have 14 they were Jehovah's Witness men that were convicted of pedophilia.
It's ongoing.
And they're in the courts. So that's just one example.
Well, I think I'm not sure that the churches, they go after people who are pedophiles.
No.
What happens is if the church becomes a safe place for the pedophile to
and just
go.
move them around.
There's a terrible,
Yeah.
there's a terrible connotation that has, that it's a pedo paradise because they know that they'll be protected.
I always wondered as a kid, we had Jehovah's Witness kids in our no birthday, Halloween, they had to leave, none of those celebrations. That is the way of the church, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
And they're trying to go through a change now because they're being heavily scrutinized by different states, countries.
Not to cut you off, I also read that there was, in the last year or two, there was a statement made by the church that they would no longer practice shunning.
That's not true.
Okay, talk about that.
Their policy,
Tight on the mic.
their policy may be to not shun, but everything that happens in the congregation is each member knows that if they maintain contact with the person who's separated, they will get shunned
Okay.
because they're afraid that they'll get shunned if they don't shun.
Or at the very least, they'd be out of favor.
They get shunned.
They get shunned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so just recently, because of the country of Norway stopped giving funding to Jehovah's Witnesses because of the shunning, so they changed their policy just a
I
little
see.
bit.
Okay.
So if someone goes into the Kingdom Hall, they can say a greeting. They can say, hello, glad to see you here, but that's it.
All right.
They lose millions of dollars because they're being rejected basically by the country.
I want to ask you, as I'm running up against the clock, 2 minutes. And then I want to direct people to your YouTube and give them your web address. How when you've come out publicly in the last 3 years, you guys have been very public.
Purposely.
Have you had any repercussions because of that, other than your children?
Well, immediately the repercussion was that the same elder that basically sweet-talked us into the congregation is the one that went behind our backs and immediately told our children, that we were dangerous.
You were bad because you were leaving the
It
church.
started immediately.
Have there been any threats?
No
No.
threats.
All right. And but they basically are saying you guys are a couple of kooks.
They call us apostates because we actually spoke out against the earth. It's
Okay.
not like we just did something and left.
Yeah.
Wasn't-
An apostate is like someone that should be stoned.
Yeah, like a Judas.
That's
kind of,
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
basically.
Yeah. The church believes in heaven and hell, the same type of. Not really. Different.
No, that's different.
Okay.
You can go on their website and learn all about them. It's jw.org, and they promote it heavily.
All right. And your website is xexjwfriends.com.
Yes, that's one of the websites. Yes, you
Go
can
ahead.
go on there.
Joe?
Go ahead.
But the one where we have our program every Wednesday at 7 is on Fixing My Faith.
Fixing My
Fixing My
Faith. And
Faith.
that is on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, Fixing My Faith.
Fixing My Faith. You can find that by searching also at Joe A-N-D Fran, at Joe and Fran. Anything else? Joe and Fran, you want to give out your phone number? I'll let you do that.
Because we have a local meetup as well as we do meetups all around the country. Our phone number is 315-221-0130. And
In
anyone
case
can
someone
call us.
needs help.
Yes.
And you believe there are those out there
Yes,
that do.
absolutely.
Joe, you guys I do believe you're very brave, and I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Now, this is just my take. If you watch this video, because this is the most recent video that Bill Keeler did. Remember, it was back in 23. He did the one with the JW. But I think Bill Keeler started asking deeper questions. You know, he looked back at the JW interview from 2023, realized that they didn't tell the full story. So what did he do? He resurfaced the clip. And this time, you and I are the audience, and we're watching with new eyes. Sometimes the truth doesn't come out all at once. Sometimes it takes hearing both sides and then looking again. So let's take a look at the site. Now this is the WIBX site. There on the headline there he has for this, a Jehovah's Witness explains why they knock on your door. And you notice down here, Bill Keeler, published April 14th, 2025. So this fella's name here, this Jehovah's Witness from the PID department, his name is Patrick DeBono. He's a local spokesperson. So I'm going to post this on the descriptions. We're going to watch the video, and Bill Keeler kind of revisits this whole thing a year and a half later, kind of goes through it, and he notices that they were sidestepping. Well, he went off script, and they couldn't answer certain questions. You know, for instance, do Jehovah's Witnesses shun those who used to belong to their religion? Do Jehovah's Witnesses break up families or build them up? These are JW.org. So it looks like this is the information maybe that they couldn't give out, and that they emailed it maybe to Bill Keeler, so he's publicizing it. I'm not sure. So, but he resurfaced this whole video. It's right here. We're going to take a peek in on it on YouTube. So stick with us.
Receivers sucked for the Packers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and he brought.
So right now is Patrick DeBono. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Thanks for having me.
So I want to say that this is unprecedented. That now we have had people in talking about Jehovah's Witness, but we have never had someone in representing, and I'm going way back. We've never had anyone in representing Jehovah's Witness, and you are just that this morning.
Correct. Yeah, I serve as a local spokesman in the Central New York region.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask some questions. There may be some questions that I ask that you can't answer. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm going to ask what I can here. First of all, let's talk about the religion, if you could. Explain what it is to be a Jehovah's Witness, could you?
Sure, yeah. We base our beliefs strictly on the Bible, trying to follow the example of the first century Christians, congregation, and as it was established. And we prefer a literal understanding of the scriptures and base our beliefs on that.
Okay. But there are some changes happening.
With regard to our public outreach, yeah, absolutely.
Can I just bring up the if I could, and I just want to be, you're good with me just being honest, and you won't be offended by it, and I won't be offended. Well, you can say whatever you want about me. I'm good.
Well, we're mostly here to talk about this new outreach.
I know
in
we
Utica.
are.
Yeah,
I know we are.
specifically.
But the knocking on the door
Yep.
has been an issue and is an issue for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're about to talk about may be addressing that. Am I correct?
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
Because you see, I don't want to be. And listen, what I say, and I try to be respectful. It's like I have my religion, you have yours, and I'd like to leave it at that. Some people are willing to talk in the pamphlets. I give the people who do knock on doors the most amazing credit in the world. I couldn't do that. Have you done it before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time doing it.
It's a requirement. Is it a requirement?
Sharing in a ministry and outreach is, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Yep.
So, would you also be okay if there were people who had any questions, they could call in with a question?
We prefer not to. I just want to stick to the stick to the
Okay.
script, if that's okay.
All right. To the script. Okay. What is changing about the knocking on the door?
Well, we're doing more community outreach now with carts in public locations.
Okay.
Right. So it's a community service. Most people are most familiar, many of your listeners, maybe most of them, with our door-to-door ministry. But our outreach is changing slightly. People that have traveled may have gone to airports, major cities with transportation hubs, subway systems. Well, they'll see our mobile literature carts that offer free Bibles, Bible literature that help address some of the problems.
Do those
that
cards
people
say
are facing.
Jehovah's Witness, or does it say something else?
It says jw.org, which is our
JW,
website.
okay,
Yeah,
got it.
excellent
Okay.
website that addresses a lot of questions people are facing. Locally here in Utica, it's interesting because we focus on English, Spanish, and then Karen Sagal literature. You know, we have a significant
Okay, right.
population from Myanmar where that's their native tongue. But of course, we have other languages available as well.
Okay. So the kiosk would be different where you're not coming into that person's space. You're where that person might be. That person may be socializing, traveling, et cetera, and then they would walk up to you, or would you still reach out to them?
No, good question. And I think that's the difference is when we're in our door-to-door ministry, we're initiating the contact. Like it's our approach to them.
Yes,
However,
yes.
with our new cart activity, it's different because we don't approach people. I mean, we acknowledge people. We say hello. We wave. We have conversations, of course. We don't want to be rude to passersby.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
However, we generally don't initiate a conversation.
Okay,
We
all right.
wait for people to approach us. And the nice thing is locally here in Utica, we've had over 220 people trained in this new ministry outreach locally.
Okay.
So will the knocking on the doors go away completely?
It will not. And
Okay.
let me explain why. You know, the door-to-door ministry has been a hallmark of Jehovah's Witnesses for the better part of the last century, right? It's what we're known for. I see it in tongue-in-cheek in TV shows all the time with a
Yeah.
knock at the
Yeah,
door.
right, yeah.
I want to apologize. I did a parody song years ago about the knocking on the door. But you're not the only group that does that. There are some other groups. Latter-day Saints do it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But as a hallmark of our activity, that won't change.
Okay.
In part, that's because of what the scriptures say. You know, in Acts chapter 20, and verse 20, it actually uses a phrase about a ministry outreach going house to house.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so first century Christians did it. Jesus talked about sharing good news. This month in particular, we're on a campaign globally among Jehovah's Witnesses, 8.7 million of us, sharing a special issue of the Watchtower that was printed in 2020. Of course, COVID hit. We couldn't do an in-person outreach at that time, but it's about what is God's kingdom, kind of a positive message.
Okay. I believe Jehovah's Witnesses knock on doors, Church of Latter-day Saints,
Girl Scouts.
Republicans, Democrats, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Those are the people who knock on your door on a Saturday morning. So that won't end. That still will continue. What success rate do you feel that you have when you do a cold call? Basically, it's a cold call.
Yeah. I think it's really about success in that we're sharing something positive, right?
Okay.
So if people respond or not, and that's their decision, we never force anything.
Sure.
And I hope no one's ever gotten that impression that we're sticking our foot in the door. But I think it's an opportunity to share something positive, and I think that's always successful.
Okay. This morning we're speaking with Patrick DeBono, and Patrick, you handle this area and a rather large area, or just this area?
Mostly down through the Mohawk Valley,
Okay.
kind of Oneida out to the valley
Fair enough.
region.
For outreach in public relations, really, for Jehovah's Witness.
For lack of a better phrase, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You have a list of questions, and I have a few others that I'll swoop in there with. Is this cart outreach ministry being done elsewhere, and what kind of success have you had with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I mentioned, 8.7 million Jehovah's Witnesses in 240 lands globally. The reality is this is a part of our ministry in all parts of the world, even small communities. One of the things that's really nice is that we offer literature on our website, jw.org, in over 1,000 languages.
Oh, wow.
And most places it's tailored to the local needs, like what languages are spoken locally in a community. And then, of course, we also see that a lot of people are apparently interested because currently there's more than 5 million people studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide.
Can I ask you personally how you came to be a witness? Were you raised in the faith, or did somebody knock on your door and bring you into the?
Is it right to
into the
call you a
church?
witness? Is that what
Yeah.
you? Okay.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't offend me. It's
Okay.
actually, I kind of view it complimentary,
All
actually.
right. Okay. So how did you get involved?
Yeah, I would say I was raised around the faith of Jehovah's Witnesses, not strict adherent. And I got into my teen years and I became serious about examining what the Bible said against the beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was fully convinced of the truthfulness of it and made a dedication based on that.
All right. Why is this a change? I'm going to ask. That you have a multicolored tie, a multicolored shirt, and I don't think you're wearing black pants. Traditionally, white shirt, black tie, black pants. Why are you different?
I think you might be thinking about the Latter-day Saints.
Is that?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that-
the Mormons do that.
Yeah, the Mormons
So I've
do that.
confused it.
It's all
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah, I've seen people, women, men, come to the door and.
Why do women have to wear? Again, these are three. I'm going to throw some at you. Why do they have to wear a skirt? We had neighbors who were Jehovah's Witness, and the daughter every day had to wear a skirt when she went to school.
Yeah, well, people's personal decisions are personal decisions.
So it's not a rule.
Not with regard to our secular activities, no.
Okay, all right. There have been some people who say if they try to leave the church, they lose family members. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm not in a position to comment on that being local. That's more of an organizational level. I can, if you'd like, I'd be happy to email you policies on that from the organization or provide some information.
So there
on
is a
someone who
policy
can.
that addresses that.
There is a policy. In fact, if you look on our website, there's even some information on that, jw.org. There's a nice search bar, but I'll arrange to make sure you get that information.
And
Well, here's where it gets interesting. Everything's going good, but Bill Keeler, he didn't stick to the script. He asked questions, real ones, about holidays, about shunning, about happens when someone leaves. The JWPDI guy, Patrick DeBono, he was just there just to advertise their carts, And the other guy was, well, does that mean door-to-door is going away? Everyone would be really happy. No, we're just flooding you with more garbage, more JW stuff, literature, on the sides of the streets now. So this gets interesting.
You know that there is a group right now currently that is local that is trying to get the message out that there are dangers to being a part of the Jehovah's Witness religion for that very reason. You know there's a group out there currently.
Actually, I did not personally. I've been unaware of that, but again, I can't speak to policy organizationally, right?
Fair enough.
Just locally. And I hope you understand that.
And I'm going to tell you, I understand that, and I'm not going to put you in a position where I brought you in to ambush you by any means. But I have to ask those. I would not be doing my job if I didn't ask those questions.
No, I can
I kind of
appreciate
knew
that. Thank you
I
for-
knew the answer you were going to give, but I still have to ask the question.
Yep.
What do you want people to know today when you walk out of this studio? What do you want people to know and perceive about your appearance and about not your physical appearance, but the appearance on the program and the Jehovah's Witness faith?
Yeah, I think we want people to acknowledge that we're just sharing something positive, right? When we go in our ministry, outreach, door to door, or in our cart activity, it's not a membership drive. We're not looking to sign people up. We're not looking for donations. We're looking to share something positive to help people cope with the problems that we're all facing, right? Mm-hmm. People's lives are changing today. People are potentially busier than they've ever been before in all of history with so many distractions. And that's why our cart ministry outreach is so successful, because it makes it available in places where people wouldn't be home, right? Things like that.
And are you finding there are a lot of people that are looking for an answer of some sort? They're struggling. They're looking for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I mean, who's not dealing with a challenge or a trial today, right?
Yeah.
A difficulty, family, extended family, friends, a community group. We're all facing challenges, and one of the things I'd state as a fact is Jehovah's Witnesses are convinced, unequivocally convinced, that the Bible can help provide positive, satisfying answers to those issues.
Okay. And then I would ask you, I'm assuming there are rules the church has, or guidelines or rules, correct me if they're not rules, on when you become a part of the ministry, when you become a part of going out and going door to door. What are the guidelines with that? Is it 5 years old? Do you have to reach communion? Do you do communion? I guess I have a lot first.
Yeah, apparently,
Yeah,
Bill.
sorry.
What we do is we structure an understanding of the Scriptures first, and then, of course, someone can represent Jehovah's Witnesses in the ministry. They have to qualify, but again, those are more like higher level.
So you just don't go. You just don't. It's like, okay, you've reached the age of 7. Now you're going out with your parents. You have to be trained to go out or qualify.
Correct.
Okay. And what is that process like?
I don't know if we got enough time this morning.
Okay. All right. Well, let's put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through classes. You go through.
Yeah, well, Jehovah's Witnesses attend meetings regularly. Part of those meetings are training for the ministry and things of that nature. So essentially, a person comes to that understanding and then eventually could qualify to represent the congregation.
I know that I'm a Methodist. My wife is Catholic. We fight all the time. I think that's probably the reason.
Yeah, that's the reason. But.
That is, yeah. So when you become a Jehovah's Witness, you would not marry someone who's not a Jehovah's Witness.
Well, again, policy matters.
That's a policy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I just prefer not to comment on something that's kind of above my pay grade figuratively.
Okay. All right. Okay.
As a volunteer.
Fair enough. Anything
Is
else?
your wife? Are you married?
married?
And is your wife
Yep.
part of the faith?
She is, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, he couldn't answer that question. I prefer not to answer that question. It was a straightforward question about marriage, being unevenly yoked. You know, he could have got into it, but he didn't want to get into it because all he was there was to advertise his cart witnessing. He thought it was going to be some free advertising on WIBX 95, and he was on the Keeler show, get some free advertising for their carts, but it backfired. Bill Keeler asked some questions, a lot of questions he can't answer. Well, let's see what happens next.
We share that in common. That's probably why we don't argue.
Okay, all right. This might be a policy, but does the male have dominance over the female in the Jehovah's Witness faith?
Dominance? Absolutely not. No, we would never.
Who
ever
wears
use
the
that
pants
phrase.
is what I'm saying to you.
Again, I'll direct you.
apparently
You
as
can
a-
look it up in jw.org. Look under headship, and you'll find it. And you'll find a
Okay.
scriptural answer. Right? That's the thing. Bill.
Okay, all right.
We're not going to make up.
What a coward. What a coward. He couldn't answer that question. It was put before him. Of course, it's a male-dominant religion. Everyone knows that. But this coward says, look it up. Look it up. This is their PDI department. This is their public information guy. Jehovah's Witnesses out there, if you're watching, you should be ashamed of who you put in front of the press. This guy has no backbone. Not at all.
Policies that don't have a basis in the
Well, you
scripture.
know what that is, though. What is it? Is it male? Is it female? Is it? Because in my house, it's female.
I will tell you this: I don't make
Mine
decisions
too.
in my family. I don't make decisions without consulting my wife.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That leads to a happy marriage.
Who makes the ultimate decision, though?
Well, we like to think our understanding of the scriptures guides it.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
This guy is so full of crap. He's so full of crap. He's just evading that question as hard as he can. Who wears the pants? Who has the final say in the house? You know, there's so many Watchtower articles on the man is the head of the house and the wife should respect what the man says and the man has the final say. So many articles on this. This guy is spineless.
Know that I can't. There's certain things I'm not going to get answers to, and I want to be respectful. And believe me, anybody in this world that would be willing to go out and knock on doors, not knowing what's on the other side of that door,
Especially nowadays.
yeah, is you gotta respect that. That's just I guess how I feel. I don't respect it when I'm sitting. I just sat down to eat something, and I'm that. But you don't have to.
Oh, come on.
You don't have to answer the door, right?
We don't force people to
Right,
come to their
right.
door. No,
Have Ring doorbells changed things for you guys?
they have.
Yeah.
They have. Yeah, I'm a lot quieter in my conversation with my partner at a Ring doorbell out of respect for the homeowner.
Correct,
Right.
right.
We want to be courteous to them.
Because they can play it back. They'll listen
Yeah.
to it back.
Yeah.
Everything
Well, you
has
could
changed.
probably have conversations with homeowners or renters without even
I
having
have, yeah.
face-to-face conversations.
I
with them.
actually have. Yeah, more than once. That's been the case.
I do have some listener questions, and I'm judging them as to because I understand what you don't want to do is come on here and get pelted by people. I understand that, and fair enough. But I have Wayne asking: has there ever been a Jehovah's Witness president in the United States?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, not to mine either. And Wayne said, "Don't forget politicians knock too."
You did mention
we
that.
included them: Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and all right, okay, very interesting. How did you guys handle? I say you guys. I hope that's not disrespectful. How did you handle the pandemic, the mask mandate, all of that? Was there a Jehovah's Witness uprising to say this is wrong? Or did you accept the fact that there was a virus out there? Or am I going out of the boundaries here?
No, I could tell you. In fact, we published a good deal of information throughout COVID. All of our in-person ministry and meetings went to a virtual platform.
You did. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
for the safety of people involved.
It was very hard for and people of faith especially. It was
Yeah.
very, very difficult.
Yeah, when you're used to the camaraderie, the comfort, the support of a congregation, and you don't have it
Yeah.
in person, we agree. But we were thrilled in early 22 when we started meeting in person again.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was a really nice opportunity. Later, at the September 1st of 22, we started our in-person door-to-door ministry again, which had been absent for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could talk to the Amish and see if they would come out publicly, because it's always been the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Amish. There was a mystery.
Yeah.
I think this is a brilliant idea to come out and have someone that people can talk to and ask questions of. I think it's quite brilliant. I think it's smart. Again, please talk to the Amish.
Yeah. See what you can do for us there, Pat.
We'd like to know. All right. Anything else you want people to know?
No, thank you for the time. We appreciate it. We certainly value being able to express and inform. Like we said, we're not here to preach a message. We're here to inform in this context.
Okay.
I do preach, but that's a different format, a different forum, and we appreciate the opportunity to.
How often do you
this.
go to church? How often are you supposed to go to church each week?
Supposed to, or well, I can tell you.
Supposed to.
I can tell you when our meetings are. Ours
Okay.
are Tuesdays and Sundays, so I
Okay.
attend both times each week.
So
yeah.
twice a week. And there may be other things that are going on,
Yep.
like every other church.
So
Absolutely.
what we had you on today about is the kiosk method or the new
The carts. Yep.
the new carts. Where can you see them around the area locally?
Okay, good question.
Yeah, excellent. So locally in Utica, you'll see them at the DMV train station, right under the front canopy facing the road. So that's
Usually, after an experience at the DMV, you need religion. I believe.
I would
It's a
agree with
perfect
that.
time.
Yeah.
It's by the
see, that's
time you've
not a
waited.
matter of policy. I can agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, there we go.
Absolutely. Everyone needs Jesus after
Yes,
that.
that's right.
So the DMV.
So the DMV.
Yep, and also at the bus station.
Okay,
And
all right.
when the new hospital opens, we're searching out locations in that area too.
Okay.
That seems like a good fit where people are going to have dealing with challenges, difficulties, and a hopeful message would be a nice thing to come out to.
All right.
Okay.
And is there, last question, is there someone I could speak to at some point about the accusations that have been made? Is there someone higher up than your pay grade that would publicly talk about those things?
Yeah. I'm not sure that they'd comment publicly, but I think that we could provide you with someone's
answers.
information. Yeah,
Okay.
that they could
Will
email
you
or
help
communicate with you.
open that line of communication for me?
I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else? I think we're good. Patrick, thank you. You have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
appreciate
All
your
right.
time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you very much. All right. We got a break. 7:36. Coming up, Hobike's free money question.
Okay, well, you notice Bill Keeler didn't stick to the script. He asked questions, real ones, about shunning, holidays. And Patrick, the JW, well, he tried to keep things polished. But you might notice the shifts, the hesitations, the well-rehearsed pivots, deflection, generalizations, unity language, avoidance of words like shunning or disfellowshipping. He couldn't even answer who's the head of his house. You know, Keeler said his wife was the head that wore the pants in his house. So anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Let's take a quick look at the website page that I'm going to attach. So in the website article that was just released here, he says, during the interview, we did respectfully ask additional questions, including of controversial inquiries. So DeBono did address some of those. He had promised he would, he said. And he sent him links to JW.org, of course. Do Jehovah's Witnesses shun those who used to belong to their religion? Do witnesses break up families? You know, all the professionally built brochures. That's what he sent him to on the org. Help for JW.org. How do I become one of Jehovah's Witnesses? So on and so forth. So thanks to Bill Keeler for bringing this to the fore, for helping us to see this. And it really helps us to see how the PID department acts in a radio station in comparison to Joe and Fran. That's the first clip we've seen of Joe and Fran and how they went in. And Joe and Fran went in about a year later, and they told it the way it is. So it's no wonder Bill Keeler wanted to repost this and bring this up. So thanks again, folks, and keep living your day with love. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.